Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Long. With me, we have Alfreida Edwards, who is the coordinator for National Night Out, and that is held in Franklin. Now, of course, there are National Night Out events all over the nation, and in Franklin, Morgan City, and I believe Berwick, but I know definitely Franklin, you kind of host it all around the same time, or around October every year. And this year it's going to be October 4th. So I have something I need to pose to you. Typically, we get right to the business, get the details, but I had a conversation with a 22-year-old young woman, and she asked me, who are you interviewing today? And I told them I was interviewing you about National Night Out, and I told them a little bit. I said, National Night Out is about the community coming together and, getting to know law enforcement. And I paused for a moment, and I said, are you familiar? She said, no. And she said, well, why would they want to do that? And it made me kind of really pause yet again and say, well, why not? And then I realized really the atmosphere, where the climate, where we are, and also there is a disconnect. Let's just be honest. And I said, well, it's more than just that. I mean, it's also about the community networking and talking and getting to know one another. Some people don't even know their neighbors, and this is a great opportunity, but also know your other community partners. So what do you say to the younger generation who say, I don't know if I want to go out there and congregate and fellowship with law enforcement, which is kind of sad, but what do you say?
And Danica, I think, it's really their upbringing or their growing of being fearful of law enforcement. And with this type of event, which happens nationwide, but like Franklin and other areas, Morgan City are so coming, they're joining forces with other communities across the nation to focus on crime and also to develop a partnership with the community. But this young lady, we're in, as you stated, the climate, the environment we are in now make young people fearful of approaching or being approached by law enforcement. And I guess that's the number one thing that we would like to highlight when we put this event on. And this is to make sure law enforcement is there to protect the citizens. If we don't have law enforcement, we are going to just have
all out
martial
law.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's necessary. I get it.
It is because you have the law enforcement. They're there to protect. But I know, growing up, she has encountered
and
personally.
maybe I don't necessarily know if it's even personal. I think what you see on television, a lot of times the narrative that you see. But I can kind of piggyback on, and just as a bystander, someone who's been out there filming, it has been a peaceful event, and it's not a setup. I can say that it's not a setup.
It is not a setup because we have law enforcement agencies from locals, which is such as the Franklin Police Department. We have some folks come from Patterson, Morgan City to help collaborate in this effort. And then we also have state, which is the state police. And at times we have had federal agencies like the ATF or ATC. But they are there, they come out to show a presence and extend their hand to say, we want to work with the community. And a community is only as strong as the people who are there. And when you come out, such as this young lady, and I hope that she attends one of the events, like ours, she'll be able to have her voice heard. If there is a problem, address it, at that time.
All right, sounds good. And I want to know, outside of that, because it is National Night Out, and most times it is equated to community and police, but who else is going to be there?
Well, it's community and police, the partnership. Well, we're going to have various organizations that come out and help, such as the NAACP 6091. Now, their booth will consist of voter registration. So that gives folks the opportunity to do that. Tash Action Clinic is coming out. We have the other responders such as fire department, EMS, Acadiana ambulance. So there's a host of other folks such as the sororities and fraternities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty much the community, the
It is
individuals and organizations that make up the community.
That is
We're going to
true.
come right back to talk a little bit more about National Night Out with Miss Alfreida Edwards, who is the coordinator for the Franklin event.
Okay, okay.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Alfreida Edwards, who is the coordinator for the Franklin National Night Out, which is coming up October 4th. You don't want to miss it. You want to be there. We were just kind of dispelling the, I guess, myth that you go out to a National Night Out, there's lots of police officers. Oh my goodness, it's a setup. What's going on? But not the case at all.
No.
It is quite peaceful, as well as other organizations are there. But before we go to that, I want to kind of just talk about you, because I had this conversation with someone about community getting together, putting their hands in the dirt, really, because it's hard
Yes.
to really gather people together. There's so many times people just kind of fighting against, I want to be in charge, I want to do this, I want to do that. But about, I'm assuming maybe almost 20 years ago, you and your husband and some other people within a certain neighborhood organized a community endeavor, Tie Bets. Is that about
That's
right?
it, yes.
And it was an acronym for all the streets in the area, and you guys kind of just banded together to do something in your community, take back your community.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Yes, yes, it was. And in doing that, you know, to take back, because when I moved back after my husband's retirement from the Air Force, that is the community that I grew up in. And, well, like all things, over 30 years, it had changed. But it had changed to the point that the elderly that were there when I was growing up were older people. But when you came back, they were almost like, to me, prisoners within their homes. There was quite a bit, well, working with a committee. We formed a committee, which is Tie Bets, and it consists of basically almost all the neighbors when we started out. And the focus was making sure that our neighborhood was safe, but also we focused on redoing the little park, Petco Park. And with doing that Petco Park, that helped to bring us together. We rallied together, got with the city, the mayor, and had them to where they replaced playground equipment that had been there for like 60 or so years.
And let me say this, and that's why it's so important, because when the people kind of do their thing,
Yes.
then sometimes that's when government responds. They're not always fast. They're not always going to be the first to do it. Sometimes it's going to take the community, the people involved, and I know that firsthand, but I also know that it does take some work, and it's hard. I like you said, it is hard, right?
It is. It's hard, but you know, when we started out, the willingness of the people within my neighborhood was to, okay, yes, we want to make sure our neighborhood is a shining light. And our little park, like I said, you know, had this equipment since the 60s. And focused on coming together, met with the mayor, and it was to the point, oh, well, y'all have X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
But that was coming together as one voice. And basically, that's what National Night Out is. It's projecting the voice of the neighborhood, not to just criminal activity, but also our government who works for us.
So this has been moved from Petco Park, because that's where it actually started. And you said about 18 years ago. Wow, that's quite impressive. But now it's going to be held at Franklin City Recreational Center. Why is that?
Well, because right now we're in an environment where there's so much rain, so everything is saturated. And we figure, well, okay, let's just go on with the recreation center. Although that kind of makes me sad, because we like to have it in our little park. You know, I say we, not just the neighborhood, because this park represents for everybody that lives in this city. So we decided to do that because of right now, we don't know what the weather's gonna be like. Yeah. But I hope everybody comes out. It's gonna be a good time. We've had it there before due to inclement weather, and people enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. As always, make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook. We are KWBJ TV 22. Take care.